Let me start recording. Okay, so welcome to tonight's Journey to Jewel call. And I thought it's being that it's the first of the year, just a really good time to kind of talk strategy. And let me mute everybody because I'm hearing let me do this really fast. I don't know if you guys have read, I know everybody's familiar with John Maxwell, but the 15 irrefutable laws of growth. I took the cover off, so I can't even show you what it looks like, but it's got a green cover on it. It is one, add that to your list if you haven't read that yet. It's a book that I'm kind of slowly working myself through. And last week, I came up on chapter 7, which is the law of design, and which is basically talking about strategy and systems and that kind of a thing. And so it was really timely, I think, with the first of the year. This is a huge time. I know you guys, we talk about this a lot on our page, but it's a huge, huge time for your business. I mean, obviously the first of the year with resolutions and all of that, I mean, this is a huge time to get new customers and to get people who are kind of ready to revamp their health, especially with this 60-day trim up challenge that we have going on. Use that to your advantage. That definitely needs to be part of your strategy. Especially when you're reaching out to any of your white lines. If you guys have, customers that have gone inactive or ambassadors that have gone inactive, this is a great way to pull them back in. Especially with the free shipping code, if they change their backup order between now and the 16th, they'll get that free code and it works. I mean, I did it and I've already gotten my code. So just really great incentives. And I love that Plexus is starting to do that. We're going to see a lot more of that stuff this year of just them kind of providing us with the idea, the incentive, and giving us a reason to contact some of those inactive people and to keep people engaged. And obviously we know accountability is huge. I mean, getting people to be consistent with their products is a huge barrier. And some more so than others, some customers, it's not an issue, but that's one of the reasons I love the Trim Up, because the Facebook page, they're going to get the emails, and just having that accountability is so huge for people. So definitely, take advantage of these things as Plexus rolls them out. But aside from that, this is the time of year. I mean, I know we've got some on the call that are newer than others. I've been at this 3.5 years. Some of you, it's been just a few months. Some of you maybe a year. But this is the time to kind of really refocus with your business and to kind of look back. And I hope that you'll do that. Look back on what you did last year, things that worked, things that maybe didn't work, things you want to do more of, less of, things you want to do different, things you didn't do, but that you need to do. And let this be the year that you commit to doing it. I was on a call last night and she was talking about how just comfort zones and I've got comfort zones that I have yet to push myself beyond. And she was saying that if you have yet to move past your comfort zone, it just means that your why is not big enough or your purpose isn't big enough. So spend some time thinking about your purpose. Why are you doing this? What do you want? What are you dreaming that is going to come of this, opportunity for yourself? And get reconnected with that. And that's going to be the thing that helps you step outside of your comfort zone this year, and push yourself harder and more, a little deeper than you did last year. So, also just remembering that 90-day cycle. And they kind of mentioned this some at Leaders Retreat, but the things that you do in the month of January, the things you do, the action you take now, you're going to reap those benefits 90 days from now. So you're talking like March, you're in the spring. So if you find yourself at today going, gosh, here's the 90-day trim up, the 60-day trim up challenge, and I don't have anybody that is ready to order. There is a chance that that's because 90 days ago, 3 months ago, you weren't in action. You weren't doing the things you needed to do to keep that funnel full, what they say, to keep the leads coming, the follow-ups coming. And so you've got to keep that perspective of maybe what I'm doing today, this person's not going to order today, but maybe they will in 90 days. And so you always have to be kind of thinking in that 90-day time frame. Okay, so I made a little PowerPoint just to kind of keep myself on track. So let me share. Where's my share? There we go. And pull it up for you guys. And this is just what I took, just some kind of high points I took from his chapter, and it's chapter 7. It's the law of design. And just to kind of share this little quote, I really liked it. It says, if you don't design your own life plan, the chances are you're going to fall into somebody else's plan. And guess what they have planned for you? Not much. And so I know all of us on this call, we have other jobs. We have other things that we're doing. We're clocking in, we're clocking out. Some of us 9 to 5, some of us maybe not. But we're working the grind already. We're working it for somebody else, somebody else's design, somebody else's plan. And so just always remembering that this really is your opportunity. It's our opportunity to make things happen on our time, to go to the grind for ourselves, and not necessarily to make somebody else's dreams come true, but to make our own dreams come true. And it's really falls on all our shoulders to make that plan for our life and for our business. Nobody else can do it for us. We have to be the ones to do it. And Maxwell, he talks about that. Like, he does the same kind of practice at the beginning, that week between Christmas and New Year's. He always spends time reflecting and writing and journaling and kind of looking through the things that he did the previous year. So I think that's really important, especially for us, because we are business owners and we need to really take stock of the things that we've done and that have worked and that has not worked, and learn from those. So he has this idea kind of this being reactive versus proactive in your business, obviously, but in life too. And I think we all kind of know that, like, for most people, they live reactively. Things happen to them. They wait, they react, they float through life. And I know there was a time, and I go through times where this is kind of how I approach my business. I'm more reactive than proactive. I wait. I wait for people to come to me. I kind of react when they do. I'm not being proactive enough, So really developing just a stronger sense of urgency and being proactive. I encourage you, however you can, develop that, do it. Get that urgency back like you had in the beginning when you joined. Because I'm telling you, it still happens to this day where people, I was just talking actually to BB the other day about somebody that joined, but joined under somebody else, because this other person had never contacted, it was this big, it involved family members, and it ended up being this huge drama thing. But the point being, don't wait for people to come to you. You have to be proactive. The people who are proactive are the people who are growing their team and people are joining them. So you can't always just wait for people to come to you, because they may not ever do it. And so he lays out just a few these 4 ideas when it comes to developing strategies. And so I do think that these apply to our business. And there's some more that I'll share here in a second, but just kind of a very general overview is really to always remember to keep things very simple. Life doesn't have to be complicated. We make it complicated a lot of times. And I think the same is true for this business. It's not complicated. We make it complicated. We overthink it, but it really is very simple. And if we can keep it simple, not only does it work, but it's duplicatable. And so he talks about that too, like keeping your systems. When you develop your system for working this business, make sure it's personal, and ask yourself that. Is my strategy personal? Is this something that speaks to me, speaks to my hopes, my dreams? Is it kind of forming me as a person? The second thing is to ask if it's repeatable. And this goes back to that simplicity. It has to be simple. Otherwise, we can't transfer it. We can't have people duplicate it. So you need to make sure it's repeatable, so it's simple and it's transferable. And we know this. I mean, we've been in it long enough to know when people join and they want the business, it can be, they're kind of freaked out. They don't know where to start. And if you throw a really complicated system at them, it's not going to work. It has to be simple so that they feel like they can do it too. And then the second thing is just remember that it's more important to design your life than it is to design your career. And he talks about how people spend a lot of time planning. He gives the example, and I think we can all relate to Christmas, like how much planning went into Christmas or vacations. And that's all great. I mean, those are awesome memories. But you've got to put just as much energy and focus and time into designing your life, the life that you want, and customizing that so that you can grow as a person. You have to be intentional with that, because, we don't get a do-over. There is no dress rehearsal. You only live once, but if you design it right, once is enough. And he talked about this study. I can't remember. I'm going to try to find it, but it's not really important. But he did a study with elderly gentlemen and just kind of asking their biggest regret. And the number one thing was that people looked back and said, I wish I would have been more proactive. I regret not taking action, kind of like not cluing into the fact that like, this is my one life and I get to choose how I live it. So do what you can in the moment, learn from people that have gone before you, but just kind of take some time to realize, like, I get to choose how I live my life. This is my life and I get to be the one that decides it. And then the last thing he said about this reactive versus proactive was, when you're planning your systems, to always multiply things by 2. And so what he means by this is, in general, and I would agree with this, things that are important usually take longer than we expect, and usually more time or energy or money is involved than what we anticipate. So, and this really does apply, I think, to Plexus, to our personal growth. We have seen a lot of people shoot through the ranks. Obviously that's not my journey. I didn't go Emerald in 6 months. People do it, people continue to do it. It can be really frustrating when things don't happen as quickly, as you want them to happen, but always remembering, when I'm planning, this might take longer than I think it's going to take, but that's okay. And the idea of deepening your roots, and he talks about a tomato plant versus a tree. So when you allow yourself kind of that space and that patience and that grace to grow slowly, you are establishing deep roots. And I think this is a really important thing for us to remember. A tomato plant or like a squash vine, they grow really, really fast, like in a matter of weeks. But what they produce only lasts several days or maybe several weeks if they're lucky. So it grows fast, but it also expires very fast. Whereas a tree, it grows very slowly. It takes, years, decades, centuries even sometimes. But once it's grown, the fruit it produces lasts forever. Lasts a lifetime. And so when we get frustrated, just remember, you're developing yourself to become that leader. Oops, sorry guys. Just remember that when you do get frustrated, this one, let me go back here. There we go. There it goes. You are just developing yourself to become that leader that you need to be, to guide that team and lead that team of people once they join you. And so I know that this is a frustration a lot of us share, but strategies for growth, they do take time, and this business does take time. And I think kind of whenever we talked about this in our last call with that failing forward, people who say, okay, I'm going to give myself a year. And if I'm not XYZ in a year, I'm going to quit. Well, the way our brain works, when you give it an exit, it's already gone to work to make that kind of a reality. So in a year, the chances of you quitting are really pretty great. Instead, removing that exit door and just saying, the opportunity with this is far too great. I will never quit. I won't quit until I get what I want. If what I want takes me 5 years or 10 years, I still won't quit because it's worth it. And certainly when we talk business and we talk money, as a speech pathologist, and I'm not going to ever make what a Jewel makes. It's just not going to happen. And so it is worth it to me. That time's going to go by anyway. I might as well be building something on the side so that one day I can surpass and be done with speech or whatever, or far surpass what I would ever have been able to make. So the next thing he talks about is that these strategies require you to establish systems. And At the end, we'll talk about just the different areas. It's not a surprise. It won't be a surprise, these different areas that we definitely need to have systems for, but it's so important to have a plan, to have a system. If you approach things in life strategically, the chances of them happening are so far greater than when you just kind of like haphazardly go after something. And rarely does that haphazard approach result in success. When it does, it's really not repeatable. And this goes back to that simplicity thing. I mean, what we do, we have to have a system and a strategy, because our goal here is to bring on people who want this business and to teach them how to do it. So if we like, I don't know what I did, I just went Ruby and I don't even know how. Well, that's not very helpful, to the people that we bring on board. So you've got to be strategic in it. And so I love this. It says, systems permit ordinary people to achieve extraordinary results in a predictable manner. However, without a system, even extraordinary people can find it difficult to predictably, is what that's supposed to say, predictably achieve even ordinary results. And so basically, that's a lot of words, but what it means is, even though we feel like maybe we don't have all the tools or all the skills that whoever it is maybe you compare yourself to in this business, it doesn't matter. It's having a system and being strategic. You will achieve some things that are pretty extraordinary. Whereas someone who's got all those tools already, if they're not strategic about how they go after it, they may never achieve the same results that you can. So be strategic. And some of the things that he shares, I mean, and like I said, we'll get to this, but he talks about how like he's got a system for personal growth where he reads 4 books every month. And as he's reading, he doesn't just read them and then put them aside. He categorizes quotes, that he has like a whole categorizing system where he categorizes quotes or stories so he can go back to it and revisit it, which I think is pretty genius. I mean, I know it probably takes a lot of time, but he files them. I mean, obviously he's an author and so he needs to do that, but it's that idea of, you read it, but then a lot of times we forget what we read. So having a system to really soak that in and refer back to it. So basically a system is just a process for predictably achieving a goal based on a specific, orderly, and repeatable principle and practices. So systems allow you to leverage your time and your money. They make you more efficient. They make you more deliberate, more intentional, more practical, and they really do improve your performance overall. So, okay, what a system includes, and I think that this is important when we look at what systems we have in place with our business. And what I mean by this is also just like what we do every single day with our life. Kind of starting to get that, asking yourself these questions. So your system does need to be tailored to you, like to your strengths and to you as a person. But here are some really good questions. One of the things he says is to make sure your system takes into account the big picture. So ask yourself, will this system help me reach my big goals? Whatever your big goals are with Plexus. And I hope that you have big goals. I guess that's really the first question that you should ask yourself is, am I thinking big picture here? Am I thinking big enough? Am I dreaming big enough? If you're holding back, why? Ask yourself those things and really go big with this. And then make sure the things that you do on a day-to-day basis with Plexus are in alignment with you getting to that big goal. So unhappiness is not knowing what we want and then killing ourselves to get it. So if we're constantly just like doing stuff and we don't really know why, there's no big picture, there's no big goal in mind, that's the crazy making kind of formula there. So you've got to know what you want. It's got to be really big so that you will go after it. It's that whole idea of like your big goal has to be bigger than the pain of stepping out of your comfort zone. So there we go. Yes. So are you dreaming big enough? And what is your big picture? What is your big goal with Plexus? I know most of you guys on the call do have pretty big goals, but it's really good to always revisit that and make sure maybe you can go even bigger. And then the next thing is to ask, does the system align with my values and with my commitments? And so he talks a lot about, and I'm kind of guilty of this too, like he's a yes person. So if he gets asked to do something, he typically will say yes. And I think probably a lot of us on the call can relate to that, whether that's in Plexus or not. I'm talking about just things with your kids, things at work, things for friends, things for family, saying yes, yes, yes all the time, because you don't maybe want to disappoint people, or you're, a yellow personality and all you want to do is help people. But you've got to kind of start taking control of that a little bit and figuring out what's the most valuable use of my time right now. And he actually says to ask yourself that question repeatedly on a daily basis. And whatever that is, the most valuable use of your time, that's what you need to do. So is it more valuable to me to, binge on the latest Netflix show? Or is it more valuable to me and my values and my commitments to myself and my family that I go, work Plexus for 30 minutes? And then also finding out when is my most valuable time. So knowing yourself and knowing I am really on it in the morning. I'm a morning person. I get most things done in the morning. I'm more efficient. Or are you a night person? And so what he had to start doing was, he's a morning person. And so he had to stop doing the things that weren't as big of a priority in the morning and doing those later in the day. And instead knowing like, that's when I do my IPA is in the morning, because I'm sharp. I'm thinking, I'm not, tired from the day. So that's when I do my most valuable work is in the morning. And so I think that's a really good thing for us to remember and to know about ourselves, because we're all, again, this is where you're different. And teaching your team, when can you fit this in? Will that time work for you? Why or why not? When can you be most focused and most, not distracted by other things going on? So asking yourself those questions continually is a really good way to make sure that your system is going to work for you. And then measurement. I mean, we've all talked about goals that we set. We talk a lot about goal setting with Plexus, and you have to be able to measure them. So asking yourself, does this give me a tangible way to measure it, to know if and when I've succeeded? That's why, like with IPA, I mean, obviously I'm not talking just about like, I'll know I succeeded because I'll be able to measure when I hit gold or senior gold or whatever. But the day-to-day things, I'll be able to check off when I've reached out to 2 people, when I followed up with 1, when I've trained my team, whatever. But you've got to know where you are, where you want to be, and then your chances of getting there. And being able to set those time constrained goals. So if you can't measure something, you can't understand it. If you can't understand it, you can't control it. And if you can't control it, you can't improve it. So we have to be able to measure ourselves. We have to go back after a month and say, how many people did I reach out to? How many new customers? How many customers did I keep? How many did I switch over to ambassador theme? Those are all the things that you can measure. And again, he threw a study in there from I think it was like a work factory in Chicago, where they did a scientific study. And when people knew that their work was actually being measured, their productivity increased. So it's that accountability. And I think again, this is why, going back to that 60-day trim up, when people know, like, I'm being measured here, I've got to check in, check out. I've got to say if I did or didn't do it. It just kind of mentally, it increases your productivity and your willingness to do it. So, okay, we've got 3 more little points on this. So the next thing is that your system needs to include application. So is your system bent toward action? And it's that idea of, and I think sometimes I'm guilty of this. I fall into learn, read books, watch trainings, and that is great. We should be doing that. That's kind of like you're drawing the blueprint, for this amazing house that you want. You're getting all this information, you're drawing it up. But if you never pick up the hammer, if you never lay the foundation, that blueprint is basically worthless. So if we take in all this information, but we don't act, we don't move, it's just head knowledge, it's pretty much worthless. It's not going to propel us in any way, shape, or form. But I think I know I'm guilty of that. So here's that question again. What am I going to do now? Ask yourself this, every day, every time you sit down to go to work, for Plexus, every time an opportunity presents itself, as you're out and about, whatever, you're going to meet new people, talk to new people, bring up Plexus. Am I going to act? You have to step forward and you have to act. And he talks about that plan. Your plan creates the track, but that your action actually is what provides the traction. And we know that. We know that the cure to anything that ails your business is action. So this is not necessarily a new idea, but something that I feel like for this next year, if we can all push ourselves to act more and to do more, I think we will all see substantial growth in our business. I really, really do. Because I think, not that you ever stop learning, there's always things to learn about the products and the business and network marketing, but we have to put that into action. And I think it's not like there's a magic bullet out there. I think the things that we know work, we've already heard, we know it. We just have to do it. And so I think this is, as a team, I really hope that we push ourselves individually and as a team to just act more and push ourselves more and do more. Okay, then the next point, 2 more, is that effective systems are really going to employ a high sense of organization. So asking yourself, does it make better use of my time than what I am currently doing? Does my system that I'm going to start doing make better use of my time than what I'm currently doing? The number one time waster for most people is looking for things that are lost. When you're organized, you give yourself a sense of power. And this, I'll be honest with you guys, is one of my weaknesses. I struggle with clutter and like stacks of piles of things, and I can't, and this is like my ongoing resolution for life, is just to like be better at putting things away where they belong, letting them have a home and putting them there. Because I waste a lot of time. If you sit down and you're like, I'm ready to go to work on my Frank's list, where's my Frank's list? Where's my this, my that? You waste a lot of time searching and looking. So getting yourself organized, this comes easier for some than for others. It's not an easy thing for me, but I'm working on it. So you've definitely got to be just as organized as possible. And it does give you a sense of power, and it makes you just much more powerful and much more efficient. And Allie can laugh because we share an office, and my desk always has stacks of papers on it. So it's just, it's true. Okay. Then the last thing is, does your system, if it's effective, it's going to promote a sense of consistency. So asking yourself, can I and will I easily repeat the system on a regular basis? So if you want to succeed in the long run, you've got to learn to be consistent day in and day out, week in and week out, and year in and year out. So knowing that what we do daily is the secret to our success. The things we spend, the little bitty minutes, they add up and they make a big difference. So the things that you're doing daily, your daily routine, if you can conquer that, if you can get control of that and make it work for you, you will find success. And I love this. I wrote this Carrie Wilkerson quote. So I just ordered her book. I have not read it yet. It's The Barefoot Executive, and she spoke at Leaders Retreat. So that's one of my New Year's resolutions, is to read 30 books this year. And so I ordered it. She's one of the ones I'm starting with, but she's really, really cool. And so this is a quote of hers. And she talks about basically showing up in a consistent, meaningful way for your business every day, because you are the CEO of your business now, of Plexus. This is yours. So she says, if you're going to be the CEO and you're going to mean it, you have to be responsible for showing up, whether you feel like it or not, whether you're ready or not, whether you feel encouraged or not, whether you have the support or not, whether you're alone or not, whether you failed before or not, whether you've looked foolish before, whether you have time or not, if you have the energy or not, or if you're passionate or not. You have to show up to go up. And she's pretty bold, but she says, if you're not showing up in a consistent, meaningful, productive way every day for your business, then you cannot place blame anywhere else except yourself for the success of your business. You can't blame, the economy, your downline, your upline, your sideline, whatever. It's up to you. You're the only one that can show up. And so I love that little and I think that goes back to just the success of your daily routine. And there's a really good book. I meant to write it down. I'll share it on the comments when I post this, about actually, because I follow her, Carrie, I follow her on Facebook, and there's a book she posted the other day, and it's about like this whole idea of just kind of getting control of your daily routine. And so I am going to check. I checked it out from the library. I haven't started reading it yet, but anyway. Okay. And so then just this last little quote to finish out his chapter. It says, if you go to work on your goals will go to work on you. And if you go to work on your plan will go to work on you. Whatever good things we build up end up building us. And I just love that. And so, and I mean, this is not really an exhaustive list, but just to kind of get you guys thinking, we've got lots of really great training videos, not that necessarily I have made, but other people, on all of these areas. And what I plan to do is when I post this recording, I'll post some really good trainings in the comments of this. But we have to have systems in place for our business, and we have to have them in place for a variety of areas. And we have to commit to working these systems. We have to make them simplistic. We have to make them repeatable. We have to make them transferable. We have to stay connected to our purpose, our vision, our dreams, so that they're personal. And he says when you create a system that you really should try it for at least 3 weeks, and then just evaluate if it's working or not and make changes. And again, make it simple and straightforward. If you can't explain your system, it's not simple enough. And this is, again, I know I'm a broken record, but you have to be able to explain it, because you got to be able to train people on it. When you sign up an ambassador, it's on you. You've got to get them up and running. They know nothing about network marketing. They're looking to you. You're their leader. So you got to be able to explain it and teach it. So you need to have a system for personal growth. And so just kind of some questions. I mean, there's more. And if you guys think of them, I'd love to have you at the end, just pop in your thoughts. But how many books do you want to read a month or a year? How many pages do you want to commit to reading a day? I know some people have talked about, even if you just read 10 pages a day, I can't remember now what the numbers are, but how many, it adds up to like so many pages, which equals so many books a year. It's a lot. Even just as little as 10 pages, a day. How many trainings do you want to attend or to listen to a day, a week? How many conventions do you want to go to? How many, and not even just Plexus, but how many personal growth type, trainings or conventions do you want to go to? And then you've got to have a system in place for your business, for your income activity, your IPA. We know the formula, the 3-2-1+1. There's a great video I'll post about that, but that's a really simple formula. It's really, really simple. But here's the thing. When are you going to do it? Are you a morning person? Are you an afternoon person? Are you a night person? When are you going to do it? How long are you going to sit down undistracted and commit to sitting down for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever, 15 minutes twice a day, 30 minutes twice a day, 20 minutes once a day, whatever it is, what can you do? You just figure out what that is and you do it. And then how are you going to store or track? How are you going to track that information? So you got to figure out a way. Are you a paper pen person? Are you an electronic person? I'm a paper pencil person. So I have a notebook. How are you going to keep track and write it down? Do you have a spreadsheet? What are you going to do? Get a system, figure out what works for you. What about accountability? You need to have some accountability for your IPA. Find someone who will hold you accountable, who will ask you the tough questions. How's your IPA going? Who have you reached out to? Tell me about it. Who is that person going to be? And that can be somebody on our team. That can be someone in your downline who is a business builder with you. That can be somebody, a sideline that's not even in our direct team. I hope that you guys are, as you go on in this business, reaching out and meeting new people that aren't even in, our larger team, our smaller team, just people that you meet, that they can hold you accountable to. And a lot of times that's really powerful, because you'll find people who are going after that same rank as you, and they have really great ideas, and you guys just kind of feed off of each other. So you've got to get a system for your IPA. You need to have a system for customer care. And I know this kind of goes into the IPA, but you've got to figure out how often are you going to follow up with those customers. We have to keep them happy. When are you going to follow up with them? What are you going to say? You know, what kind of information are you going to follow up with? Do you have articles you're going to send them? Do you have some videos you want to send them? You've got to make sure you're offering any type of company-wide incentive. You have to make sure they know about it. That is, again, on you. And I'm talking even people who have not ordered from you in a while. Like right now with the trim up, you know, they can get free shipping if they order between, you know, if they set up an order between now and the 16th. That's huge. They can get this amazing, you know, input from a health coach. They can get the accountability that they want they can win amazing prizes. So that you've got to have a system. You've got to always be thinking about your customers. Sometimes those are your wholesale ambassadors, but you need to have a really good system for your customer care. And again, this is kind of part of IPA. I mean, not kind of, it is part of that 3-2-1, but the follow-up, have a good system that works for you. How are you going to keep track of your follow-up? You know, again, some people use binders. There's a really good note card box system that Andrea Mitchell has. People use spreadsheets. When are you going to do it? When are you going to follow up with people? How many people are you going to follow up with a day? What about how many are you going to follow up with a week? As your business grows, that number is probably it's gonna increase, you know. And this isn't always just like customers, but those, when you're reaching out to people and you're establishing connection with people, that's a follow-up too. I mean, like not even a Plexus related conversation, but following up and reaching out and keeping connections going and reestablishing connections with people. You have to have a system for that. While we're on this, let me just tell you, this just popped in my mind. This call I was on last night, Rachel Wagner, she led it, and she's an Emerald, and I'd never heard of this, and I thought it was really genius. What she does when she has a conversation with somebody, usually she said it's like via, you know, on her phone, via Facebook. So she's got that that messenger going. She takes a screenshot of it, and then she has an album, a photo album on her Facebook page, and it's secret. So nobody can see it except for her. And it's titled, I don't know what she said. It's like, you know, leads or follow-ups or whatever. And she adds those screenshots to that album. And so when she goes to do her follow-up, she gets into that album and she scrolls through and she finds the people she wants to follow up with. And her goal is to always have 100 screenshots in that album. That's like what she shoots for. When those people order, she moves them into another secret album, which is her customers and her wholesale ambassadors that she's following up with. So she does it by screenshots, which is kind of cool. If you're a visual person, that might, you know, work for you. So there's a lot of systems out there, but it's finding the one that really works for you and sticking with it. It doesn't have to be complicated, but, you know, then helping your people that you bring on find a system that works for them and their personalities. Okay. Couple more things. You have to have a system for training your team. I don't care if you have, you know, one person who might maybe want to work the business, or if you have 10 people, you know, it doesn't matter. You can never start early enough training your team. If your team is full of wholesale ambassadors, train them on the products, you know, give them information on the products, on maybe products that they're taking or that they haven't taken yet. But when you get runners, you need to figure out, who am I training? You know, who are the people that want this? When am I going to train them? How often am I going to talk with them? Am I going to do coaching calls with them? Am I going to offer training videos that I make for my team? What about Zoom calls or 3-way calls, training calls? I mean, these are just kind of some things to be thinking about, that get a system in place for what you want to do, how you want to train your team. It is on you. We're all capable of doing this. We just have to do it. And remember, you can never expect anyone on your team to do something that you yourself are not willing to do. So if you want your team to explode, you got to act like it's already exploding. If you want to bring people in who are going to do these same exact things, train their team, do Zoom calls, do training calls, you have to do it. They have to see you do it and see that, okay, it's not that scary. You know, she did it. She kind of struggled through it, but like, who cares? She did it, so I can do it. You got to do it. You got to step up and do it. And then the last thing is, I think it's the last. Yes. Okay. Oopsies. The last thing is to make sure that you have a system in place for organizing and planning your week, your month, your year. And again, this kind of goes back to the pen paper versus electronic. You know, Tiffany added an amazing visual to it's on our team page of just like the whole month of January, basically. That's just like check boxes. I mean, it's measurable. You can look back at the end of the month and say, that, what boxes did I not check? Why did I struggle with that? What did I do good at? How can I keep that up? I mean, you've got to have a way to plan this. And most people do still use, I do, a calendar, the planner, and writing down who you're going to reach out to on what day and what you're going to say, or what post you're going to post, planning those out ahead of time. One idea is you can plan all of that out on a Sunday. You can set aside some time on a Sunday to plan out your week. I know a lot of jewels that do that. They plan out the things they're going to post on their team page. They plan out the things they're going to post on Facebook. They plan out who they're going to, talk to, the three-way calls they're going to do, and they fill up their calendar. So lots of stuff out there that you don't necessarily need to reinvent, for sure. And I know that there are more things than that, but that is basically all that I had on that little PowerPoint and from his chapter. But I definitely, if you guys have anything else that you can think of that we should have systems for, please share or unmute yourself if you have a question or a comment, or a system that has worked well for you that maybe we could benefit from.
I have a question.
Okay.
So I tried the building my MLM, and I'm just not good about like logging on. I tried the note card box. So I currently just kind of keep like a notebook sheet, but I'm just wondering if anybody has a better way or something that works for them as far as like following up and stuff. Cause I mean, I'm horrible about like, oh, have I reached back out to them, or have I, I just can't remember, and I'm not doing a good job of keeping track. So is there anything else that anyone's doing that might help?
Does anybody have, because I'm kind of like you, I use a little bit of a morphed, I do like the notebook and the index card box. Like, here's my little box, but I have to stay, it's one of those things, if you don't stay on top of it, it can kind of get really overwhelming. And so I try to, when I make contact with someone or follow up, and I know when I want to follow up with them again, I go to my calendar and immediately write their name on that, a week out or whatever it is. And then I try to keep it logged on that note card too. But because I'm the same, but then I'm like, I also have a notebook pad. I kind of like double up my efforts. So I don't know. Does anybody, Stacy, I know you were using the MLM builder spreadsheet thing. I don't know if you still are.
And I still am. So I started, and I was just writing it in my planner, but I didn't like that I couldn't make notes. So I was doing an Excel spreadsheet, and I just felt like that became too overwhelming because I couldn't organize it the way that I liked it. And then I did the note cards. I've done a lot. I did the note cards, and I liked that. I was able to keep everything concise. And then I do use buildingmymlm.com. What I do is in my planner, part of my checklist, and I include it on my daily action sheet, kind of like in my head. I put on my planner a checkbox for, did I post on Facebook today? Did I log into buildingmymlm.com and do all of my follow-ups there? Did I do my daily action stack? Did I read today? And so that forces me, because I'm a big, I have to check the box off. I feel better about myself and that I've accomplished things during the day. If I check the box off. So that forces me to go to the website to log in to be able to do it. I've seen people, Ashley, I thought it was interesting, the photo albums that you saved. That's interesting. With Facebook, you could you modify that even more, and just instead of putting it on Facebook, do it in your own photo album on your phone.
Right. Yeah.
But I like, and I don't know who asked the question. Sorry, I'm on my phone. I don't know how much you've explored with building my MLM. I personally like it just with all the features. But that said, Excel worked too, because I kept that up all the time. Like, it was on my desktop running all the time. So I don't know how much that helps. I do have, if anybody's interested, I think it's on the team page somewhere. I can repost it. If you're wanting more information on buildingmymlm.com, I did a kind of a preview video when it first came out for Lauren, I think, and I can send that to whoever wants it to.
Did you post that?
I don't know if that helps.
Or did you just send it to her?
I thought I posted it. I know it's on my YouTube channel, and I'll look for it.
I mean, staying on top, that's really one of the hardest. It is. It's hard. I mean, but it's easy to, if you don't have a system in place, weeks go by, days go by, weeks go by, and it's just like, oh my gosh, that was a month ago, and I was supposed to message them back, but it is hard. And there's times where I go through and I like clean out my box and I just kind of start, not all over, but I kind of have to like reshuffle things and just kind of get it all back on track and stuff. So, some people do. I know like BB, she uses on her phone, she uses the notes. She does it all on her phone, which I just can't. It's just too much like text. I don't know. I just can't do that. But it's all on her notes, and she has like her whole Frank's list on one of her notes, and she types out notes next to it. So it's basically, like paper and pen. It's just on her phone.
Awesome. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions or things to add to any of that? Pam, no questions?
I was going to ask, is everybody going to Super Saturday?
Yep. I think most everybody, well, let's see. Well, that's what I think before you, Buzz, you got on. There's a group of ours that out in South Carolina, the weather's getting so bad, and they're just really fearful. Like, I think Donna Horton, there's a great chance she won't be able to go now because who she was originally going to ride with, they've kind of backed out because they're just supposed to get a ton of snow. And I guess, it's probably like Oklahoma. The roads just like shut down. Nobody knows what to do or how to drive or whatever. But she's posted on several different pages to hitch rides, and twice she secured rides, and then twice those same people have backed out and said, no, we're not going now because so.
Well, I'm actually supposed to go with 2 other Collectus ambassadors that are local in this area.
Yay! How fun!
That's kind of cool. So we're all going to ride together, and I think it'll be a really fun time. So I'm looking forward to it.